Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, depending on where you're watching from. On today's episode, we have a very special guest all the way from Ghana. Um, I remember when this podcast series began, our main focus was on talking to graduate scholars, but sometimes there are instances where we need to get inspiration from those who have gone through very difficult path and have come up with huge accomplishments. So on today's episode, we have a very special guest who has made headlines since 2021, uh, who also scored all A's in his WASI and also scored 99 percentile on the SAT. So let's welcome our guest today, Tyrone Marhguy. This is our special guest, Tyrone Marhguy. Good afternoon, and how are you doing?
Um, Greetings, good afternoon. I'm doing very well. Thank you so much. Okay,
Great.
thank you.
Yeah.
I'm doing
As
well.
mhm. This platform originally has been dedicated to graduate scholars, but uh, following you for some number of years and looking at what you've accomplished, we thought that it would be ideal to bring you on so that other students at all the way from high school level can take inspiration from your journey so far. So I want us to begin from your early days, your background, how you were brought up. Could you share a bit about your early life and experiences that have shaped your interest in science and mathematics, for example?
Mm, okay, so for my early life, for the majority of parts, it was very normal, just like everyone else. Go to a very a normal school in the country, that's Ghana. But then for some other parts too, it was kind of unusual because we spent some number of years living on a bus. So we're kind of staying around the coastal Ghana, but then on a bus permanent. And so my dad was an engineer and he is an engineer, in fact. Just that, yeah, but he's an engineer. And so I think I took the main science and math from him because engineering is basically science and math. And so once I was always following him all around, then I ended up, taking the path into science and math. And I think my sisters too were somewhat into science and math at some point. So that's where the science and math came in. And after the BC, there are certain grades that when I have a feeling when you get in the BC, it's traditional. You know it's science you eventually do. No
Yeah.
one will watch you to do anything else. Yeah. So that is where the science and math solidified,
Okay.
where I knew that at this point, science and math.
Okay. So your dad was actually an engineer, and he's still a practicing engineer.
Yes, yes,
Okay.
yes.
Yeah. I think that makes sense. I think that is the part that most people miss out on. So that explains your passion and interest for engineering subjects. But where in Ghana specifically did you grow up?
Uh, so I grew up in Kumasi for a number of years, and then
Okay.
I continued the growth in eastern region around Ebri, and I also continued at Accra. So different places,
Okay.
but generally this major place. Yeah,
Okay. So
everything.
yeah, I know one of the issues that came up was you you know uh, taking your dreadlocks to Achimota. But how has your culture and identity shaped you throughout your journey in academics? I know, like a lot of Ghanaians, once you talk about dreadlocks or once you talk about Rasta or Rastafarian, a certain mindset people have a certain mindset about people that they see as Rastafarian or having dreadlocks. So how has Rastafarian as an identity influenced your academic and personal journey?
Um, I think for a majority of the part, uh, what it basically did was that it just, you know, gave you that diverse background in the sense that if I'm in any community, I know that unlike everyone else, I'm representing somewhat different ideal because then you could have, you know, a lot of uh, you could have non dreadlocks. Basically, everyone over there has no dreadlocks. So being there kind of represents a unique ideal for a majority of the part. And secondly, it was also a mark to or a reason to keep doing what you can better because there's just one of you in that regard. And so whatever that you attempt to do, you just choose to do it better and try your very best because if we are looking for a dreadlocks or a Rastafarian or anything, you are probably the only person they will point out to. And so
Yeah.
if they are going to do that, it has to be nice.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. So I know, like people, some of the arguments that came up was that you know the school is going to have disciplinary issues. As a Rastafarian, how do you take discipline as a core value? How do you adhere to the core values that is very dear to you?
Uh, I think that the very core values, yes, discipline is a part, but discipline is that word that or that concept that could be, defined depending on background and culture. Because
Mm-hmm.
initially, Achimota's sense of discipline was shave your hair. That was their sense of discipline.
Yeah.
But then at some point, it changed where that was really not discipline. It's a much bigger topic and concept than basically sorry, than shaving your hair and all that. So personally, I think there was that misinterpretation of what discipline was earlier, and I'm so glad you changed it right from the start before even got into something else.
Yeah.
But discipline to me was not about shaving hair at all. It wasn't
Okay.
close to that.
All right. Okay. So I know, like I was also asking myself, there are several schools, right? There are several senior high schools that you could have attended. Why did you insist that Achimota is a place to be? Why not, for example, Pesek or Prempeh College or any of the other top schools? Why did you insist on Achimota?
So sec, I have a feeling if not Achimota, it's 100% sec. But what happened was that because of my sisters, so we are triplets. So because of that, my parents wanted us to choose the same SHS so that if we all got in, then we'd all be at one place.
Okay.
So which means that all single gender schools were automatically out,
Yeah.
first
Yeah.
of all.
Okay.
And if they are out and we are looking for mixed schools, you might want to look at A schools before you consider B and C. So Ashimota was actually an A school. And secondly, too, because of where we live in Accra, my parents wanted us to be day students. So, I have a feeling it was some criteria that we were looking for in an institution. And it was only Achimota that matched that. An A school that was a mixed school and a day school. Yeah, that was all, yeah, basically that. That they offer science, they're a mixed school, and then they are also not single gender. Then it was basically only Achimota. No
Okay.
other school when you think about it. No other school again.
Yeah, yeah, that make a lot of sense. So you made mention that you have triplets. Where are the other two?
Oh, they are St. John's. They've also completed St. John's Bank. They
Okay,
too do science. They general arts.
Okay,
That's
they
in
didn't do
general.
science.
No,
Okay,
they don't have.
okay,
Yeah.
okay, okay. All right. So, I mean, I know during the time that you were going to court back and forth, classes had already begun. So, what kept you motivated and focused on your studies while still, dealing with all these controversies in the media and in the courts?
Mm, I have to admit, during those times, it looks or it may have looked like I was learning, but I'll be honest, I actually wasn't learning because there was no time for stuff like this. Because you have to be here at 9 o'clock and exactly at 10 o'clock, you have to be here and all that up and down. And usually the court, the court, uh, proceedings, it took a while in the sense that when you go there today, the next time that you meet again will probably be in 7 days at most, but usually 2 weeks or 3 weeks more. That's how it was operating. And so, and the argument was that once I was already in court, I cannot go to any institution to study because that would be contempt of court in a sense that you are there to fight and to argue that you got placed at Achimota and that you should be allowed to study. But if you are somewhere else studying, then there's no point in fighting this battle because if you
Yeah.
won, you are not going there anyway. Yeah.
Hmm.
So that was kind of that luck where even if you are not doing anything, you just cannot associate with any institution to study. Because if you are studying, then you are fine. You don't need that much. So it was all of that added to everything. So I would basically be home. Sometimes I try to learn, but the thing is, it's not been to SHS before, so you don't even know where to start
Yeah.
from.
Hmm.
So I just pretend I'm learning because I know I don't know what I'm learning.
Yeah.
That's
Yeah.
how it
Yeah.
was all the time.
Okay.
That's
Okay.
how it was.
Yeah, that makes sense. So after the verdict came in and they said, "Oh, you can't go to Achimota," people thought that after all these controversies, maybe you are not going to get fair treatment as a student in the school. The typical mindset of we having that kind of vindictive approach. But how was your experience with Achimota as a school once the court ruled that you could attend the school? How was Achimota's approach in handling, your presence? Because I know you were part of the science and maths quiz. So people thought that Achimota had done really well for at least giving you the opportunity to be part of the team. But in your own opinion, how was your experience being a student in Achimota like?
I think the experience was nice in the sense that at some point you get confused if it was really the Achimota I went to court with because it was as if nothing ever happened. Everything was normal. You go to class, teachers teach you wherever any students can go to. You are equally allowed there. If you can do anything, you are allowed to. There was basically no restrictions in there. So for the entire 3 years, it was as if nothing ever happened. That's the general impression that I got throughout. And I don't really know if it was that same Hashimoto I was in court with, but if it
Yeah,
was from my experience, then everything was perfect.
yeah, yeah.
Everything was good.
Yeah, and I mean, a lot of people were quite impressed because even as your results started coming in, Achimota was very supportive in, reposting your post, retweeting your tweets. And, you go to the comment section and people are insulting Achimota. And I was like, why?
Yeah,
Yeah, the school has shown like tremendous class and maturity in handling your issues. So I thought they did really well. But your experience being part of the science and math quiz, at what point were you considered to be part of the science and math quiz? I know a lot of people were expecting to see you on the stage, but that quite didn't happen.
yeah.
But how was your experience being part of such a team?
I think the experience was nice and very interesting. because the team we created a team later on because they were actually putting things in place. But then, yeah, they finally did it at a very good time. It was like a year or so earlier. And so they created a new class for the team where, they come, the NSXU students in one class as a single class.
Mm-hmm.
We had our own lectures and lessons and assessments and everything. And I think the experience was amazing. Getting to interact with each one of them was priceless. Yeah, and um, for us, we usually go on trial contests and go on. Sometimes the trial contest it'd be the same school, Achimota School, but then different contests at the same time concurrently. And sometimes even though it's just three people that will eventually be on stage, when they are practicing, they actually need equally great students behind
Okay.
also support. Yeah.
Yeah.
So it was that kind of competition that we're all there so that they can compete with us where it's very fair, so that we know that if they are out there, yeah, they've also met some good students, so they should be fine.
Yeah.
So at the long run, I guess that was our purpose on the team then, to kind of give that experience to those that will eventually contest on team. Yeah, but I think it was nice.
Okay, so I want us to talk about your experience with the WASI and the SAT and the Maths Olympiad, right? I mean, these are incredible achievements. Um, uh, how was your overall experience writing the West Africa examination? How was like how did it go?
I think it was fine considering the nature of how everything was. Yeah, I missed the very first semester, so I had to catch up. And afterwards, there was still almost no time because there actually was some few, yeah, I think 1 or 2 years afterwards. But then the general preparations, I guess I was lucky to have been on the NSNQ team because over there, no one would directly tell you to learn, but then you just realize the stuff that you just don't know.
Yeah.
And so that also contributed. And I think the teachers were also great. Basically, the culture on the team was one built for ATs, I guess, because if you were if you were in a normal class and you learned for 6 hours a day, you think you've done so well. But then you are on the team where people are learning for 5 days non-stop. Then you realize that okay,
You need to do
this
more.
is different. Yeah, you need to do more. So on the team, the culture there was just built for, just bring out your best. And the thing is that even if you bring out your best, you know that it's not even good enough.
Mm-hmm.
That was that weird but excellent culture over there. So in the long run, a number of students also got 80s. Some had to put in way much effort to get there.
Yeah.
Some too were okay because it's been doing this for a while now. Yeah, so the culture too was part, but then the hard work too was
Yeah.
something to mention.
Okay. So, were there any specific strategies that you used in preparing for the WASI? I mean, for if any, senior high school students are listening to us, what are some of the strategies you used in preparing for the WASI?
Yeah. Okay. So in getting into Achimota School, I knew right away that I would definitely take the WASI some years ahead. So even before getting into SHS, the one subject that I had a book on, the commerce textbook. I had the commerce textbook. So after borrowing that book from friends, I decided to finish that book before getting into SHS. So in getting into SHS, I know that commerce is out of the way. And then I was left with 7. But then with the 7, basically being a general science student, it means I don't need to really touch integrated science because that's what the electives do. they even do it better. So what I basically did was that I finished the majority of the coursework in Form 1, where by Form 2 I am done or left with one or two topics in that context. So by the time I get to Form 3, yes, it will look like I'm really learning for the WASPI, but then I was actually focusing on the Olympiads and then the SET because I had kind of done the work earlier in Form 1 and then Form 2. Because Form 1, I made sure to finish UMath and the physics to physics to there are 2 weeks. Try your best to finish one. In that, you just kill yourself in Form 1, and then when you get to Form 2, you don't have a choice but to revise. And when you get to Form 3, it's you can choose not to even learn and you'll be fine. That's it. But then the culture there was just supportive.
Okay, so by the time you got to Form 3, you had finished all the syllables for most of the
Yeah,
courses. Okay.
definitely, definitely,
Yeah.
definitely.
Yeah. That's
Chemistry was
quite
just
impressive.
left with
Mm-hmm.
yeah. Chemistry was just one last topic that no one finishes. I don't know how it was designed, but no matter how smart or
Yeah.
a genius you think you are, you cannot finish it.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
and that's the thing. So for that one, it was later on that you had to take time. The issue with that topic is that it is way bigger than it looks. And it has been compressed. So if you finish a book on that topic, if you touch another book, they have compressed it differently and introduced some parts. So
Yeah.
you can never finish
Yeah.
like the way you would want to finish it. So, but then aside from that, that one alone was not capable of even dropping an A to B. So
Yeah.
we're still okay.
Okay.
Yeah, we're still
So
okay.
during your exam, the experience with the exam itself, which specific subject did you feel it was a bit difficult for you? At least a bit pose some challenge uh, during the final exam.
This question, when I answer it, people tell me it doesn't make sense, but then I have to be truthful.
Uh-huh.
So the thing is that it was English and social studies, and not that I'm bad at those subjects, but there's almost no NSLQ student whose priority is social studies or English
Yeah.
unless they are forced. So
Yeah.
it's not required. So what happens is that we basically killed ourselves to finish all the electives and English and social. At the point of writing WASI, I had never sat down to read social studies just from what I listened to in class. So it was the night before that, everything aside, you just learn the social. That one, when I'm learning it, if there are 24 hours in a day, I'm using more than half just for social studies. So by the time you are done, because you start in class, you kind of some things will still stick. But then I wasn't as confident writing the social studies as I was in the physics, the chemistry, and the math. So yeah, it was social studies and English.
Okay.
English, the summary part, it's threatening. It's threatening. So, yeah,
Okay.
that's
So the social studies and English. I mean, English is quite a problem for most science students. So
yeah.
that is not very unique. So in terms of the subjects that you felt, oh, this is so easy, and I can finish even uh, with half of the time remaining. What two subjects did you feel very confident that this one I'm definitely getting an A, and I can just get up and walk away.
Definitely math. Definitely core math and e-math. So the thing is that the previous mock before that we took, I got 98%. So in my head, the WASI was 100% or nothing because the last mock was meant to reflect what could happen in the WASI. So writing the e-math paper with a calculator, I knew that like merely writing, my mindset was that merely writing my name on the paper is an A1 because we've worked hard, and so it has to reflect. And the core mass too, well, it was equally easy because EMAS is easy, the core mass is not an issue.
Yeah, yeah.
That's basically how the two subjects were. And for physics and chemistry, they were okay. I mean, considering what they did to us on the NSNQ team, I don't think we were scared of chemistry or physics in any way possible because, I
Mm-hmm.
mean, we had done all that we could on the team. Basically, old students will come, and when they come in, they are chemistry specialists, they
Mm-hmm.
are physics specialists, they are fields, and they are teaching you into details way beyond your. So then when you see the WASI, yeah, it looks difficult to a lot of people, but honestly, from the team, it was fine. It was
Okay, all right.
fine.
Yeah. So I mean, I guess that takes us to the Maths Olympiad. I mean, what was the main motivation behind writing the Maths Olympiad? What's your main motivation?
Yeah. So at some point, I think realizing that I was on the team and that not everyone will get to sit on stage, it's like you still want to do more because aside from NSNQ, you want to look at other opportunities. That was when I got the opportunity to join the Math Olympiad and then the Vanda Science because I realized that yeah, you can do math. Yeah, so what else to do with it? So with that opportunity, I just made sure to do my possible best, especially the Math Olympiad because math has always been my favorite. And so that was, I guess, that was a part of the motivation. The fact that math was my favorite, and I got the chance to, you know, do something similar to the NSNQ because the NSNQ it was very prestigious, but then we all know that if 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 everything starts normal, all of us from that class will not sit on stage. And so if there are other opportunities where we can explore, then definitely go for it. So it wasn't just me, other students also tried other competitions and all that. But then that was, I guess, my field, the Olympiad,
Yeah.
to go there and just do
Okay.
the.
Yeah. And I mean, winning gold, it's an exceptional performance. How was the feeling like? Knowing that you are the topmost candidate for how many people?
150,000.
Yeah. So I mean
Yeah.
that
So,
might have felt really good. How was your preparation like? Is it
it did.
is it the same concepts like elective maths, or you know how different is that math from the one you're doing at the senior high school level?
So at the senior high school level, subjects like math, even during the WASI, I honestly didn't learn because even if you learn, when you take the book, you realize that there's almost nothing to learn.
Mm-hmm.
But then for the Olympiad, it was kind of a personal project. So I just told my classmates that look, this test, I am going to rake all the maths that I think I know. I'm going to bring it all out, learn it all over again
Mm-hmm.
because it was no longer a joke. It was like a personal project to me. So I took it so seriously. I basically relearned all the math that I thought I knew, learned them very well, especially from foreign books. So in taking the test was actually difficult, very difficult. And then I realized that, well, it's difficult, but then we also know what we've done. So let's just hope for gold. And we did get the gold. That's how it was. But then I would say I prepared much more for the Olympiad than I even did for the last both core and elective math.
Okay. All right. Okay. So I want us to look at the SAT exam or the SAT exam. I know, like in recent times, it's become very, very popular among high school students in Ghana. Almost
Yeah.
uh, all the students who at least engage in the National Science and Maths quiz eventually write the SAT. So I mean, you scored 99 percentile on your SAT. That is a tremendous accomplishment. Could you, for example, tell us what SAT actually is and how you prepared for this exam?
So the SAT is kind of one of those prerequisites to get into college in USA. So it's like how, let's say, if you decide to school in Ghana, you need to get your WASI ready. But the thing is that merely getting a WASI doesn't mean you are inside the school. You then have to apply to the school with the WASI. So it's just that same criteria. Only this time, the test is not WASI, it's SAT, and the schools aren't Ghanaian schools, but then they are US schools. That is the SAT. And in my preparation, I took it in Form 2. And I should say the Form 2 that I took, the SAT, was actually some of the, or definitely the most tough, or the toughest month throughout for the past 3 years. Because for that very month, I was taking the SAT, preparing towards the SAT that very month. I was also taking the school mock. So the school the school were writing our very first mock in preparation for the WASI. And at the same time, we're writing the MSNQ selection test. Each single one of them was not a small thing because the SAT, December is when initially everyone writes. So the competition is very tough. Once you get one wrong, you are losing a lot of points. And the selection team too, already I was disadvantaged because I don't take biology, but I take ICT. And the criteria for getting on the team is to take all 4 subjects, we'll add everything, and then we'll rank the students and pick the first 15. So because I was not taking biology at all, I was left with just 3 subjects to fight for a spot among the top 15. And if you look at the, I like to say the killers that were selected to write the test, those were basically the 90 smartest students from all the science departments combined.
Okay.
So if you choose, even if you learn, there's no guarantee you get on the team. That was the thing. That's just the NSNQ. And then there was the school mock. So the school mock, it was our very first mock. And the thing with Achimota School is that if you fail in a number of subjects, you will be put on Atiko. There's a list like that where during vacation everyone goes home, but you will not go home.
Don't
You
go
stay
home.
and you
Okay.
actually, yeah. So a lot of things were actually at stake. At that point, I just didn't feel tired anymore. I was just learning 24 hours a day, and in fact, I wish I had more hours a day. And uh, that was still with the SAT. So being informed, usually people write it after watching Form 3. So in that case, ideally, as a normal SSS student, I should have taken the SAT last month,
Okay.
not last year. That's how it was. But then, after preparations, I guess we went to us.
Yeah.
The
Yeah.
SAT came, and I remember I was looking at it, I said, okay, it's not bad. It's not bad.
Yeah. You did. You did
I
very.
wasn't I wasn't expecting anything good because
Mm-hmm.
I was not in that capacity at all as a Form 2 student. No way.
Yeah.
I was not.
Yeah. That even makes it more impressive. So I mean SATs. So for someone who wants to write that particular exam, for you, what typical study materials or resources did you find most helpful in preparing for the SAT?
So the difference with the test I took is that I took the paper-based SAT. That was the test I took was the last paper-based SAT for international students. Afterwards, they made it completely international. But I do realize that there's similarity between the SAT I took during those times and the SATs that anyone else can take around these times. And what I realized was that you just have to use good books, and you don't have to use different books at the same time because it depends on how you learn. If you are some students will eventually get confused because the strategies that different books use and the approaches they use are sometimes the opposite. One book can tell you that maybe for vocabs in context, make sure you don't see the answer choices. And one book will tell you that look at the answer choices and plug them back into the passage. So what I found helpful was the fact that pick one very good book and stick to it. And in fact, just practice your strategy. So maybe the book is saying that uh, don't look at the answer choices, and you actually try to develop the strategy. Sometimes for you, yeah, the book is saying don't look at the answer choices, but the strategy that works best for you is to actually look at the answer choices. So maybe the book is saying that read the entire passage before you answer the questions, but then you realize that for you, you actually have to look at the answers and plug them back into the passage. So that's, I think, one of the major advices that look for one or discover your own strategies and develop it instead. But don't combine different strategies. They actually won't help. But I have to be sincere. I never really had an issue, so I never really worked hard on it. All I know is that it was called math,
Mm-hmm.
and at that point, math for most people kind of move from move. Most people kind of move from maybe 600 before they got to the 700. But with me, my first test was actually 720 out of 800.
Mm-hmm.
So where I started from, and I moved to the 760s, and I kind of been there.
Okay.
I was kind of okay, so I had just get good books and same way apply all the strategies well and don't confuse yourself with too many books. Yeah,
Okay. All right.
I think that's
Um.
what I can say.
Okay. So I noticed that you didn't take biology as a science student. Was there any specific reason why you didn't choose biology?
Uh, so there wasn't any personal decision to not take biology. But what happened was that at the instance of enrollment at Achimota, all their biology classes were filled up. And so the only spaces left was ICT. So it was that serious in the sense that ICT or nothing because I wasn't seeing the point where I could argue and then someone would say, okay, fine, Tyrone wants to do biology, so I'm a biology student. I don't want to do biology anymore. Tyrone should take my place. It wasn't going to happen. So I was left with no other choice than ICT or geography. Then no, then I'll take ICT instead. And since that very morning, they had already started their end of semester exams. It means there was actually no time to argue. Just sat down, wrote the test. And in fact, that very first test was an ICT test. So I think after taking the ICT test, it was kind of confirmed, solidified. Yes, we are doing ICT. In fact, since it was my original plan to do biology, I tried to change it subsequently, but then the classes were just too and there was nothing I guess they could do about it. So that's how come I never did the biology after the 3 years.
Okay, okay. So, I mean, you have your WASI, you are on top of the Maths Olympiad. Your SAT score is amazing. Uh, what are you really trying to accomplish? I mean, like a lot of students, a lot of science students, especially in Ghana, and you ask them, "Oh, what do you want to do out in the university level?" Almost 90% will tell you they want to do medicine. But looking at your background and the passion and the interest you have in maths and physics and the others, what really do you want to do going forward?
I think going forward, since at this point. It will definitely be a science related program. I'm looking at engineering, but the engineering, I don't know. Some years ago, I thought the engineering I wanted to do was mechanical, and then it transformed into electrical. Currently, it's computer engineering. So if I don't change my mind again, then I guess I'll do computer engineering or computer science. But basically, anything computer and either engineering or science. That's for the next few years. But then moving way beyond the next few years, I guess I'll be a computer engineer or a computer scientist or something engineer scientist thing.
Oh, okay.
That's what I think I'll do.
All right. So we are looking at engineering, whether it's computer.
Mm.
Yes. Okay. So I mean that makes perfect sense. So I mean, have you applied to any schools outside, or what is the plan?
Uh, I've actually considered and applied to schools outside, and like their processes work. At this point, we just have to keep our fingers crossed and then wait for their decisions. But yeah, I've applied to all the schools I've heard. They offer computer engineering, and yeah, computer engineering, computer science. I've I've applied to them, those that I can, and so for now I'll just wait for them to, get back in months time. So
Okay.
right
Okay.
now they're waiting.
Yeah, that sounds good.
Mm.
I mean, in your journey so far, have you, for example, identified any role models or figures in science or maths that has inspired or that is inspiring your career goals?
My career goals, I think, hmm, specifically, it's my dad that inspired the whole engineering journey. But since he was mainly mechanical engineering because he was dealing with wind generators, I don't know how to still say that he is the main mentor. But then I guess I have to still put him there as the main motivation behind the computer engineering. Because I guess he started the engineering right from childhood, and I ended with ICT at some point along the journey,
Hmm.
and I got into computer engineering. Then there are also so many, advices from different places. But yeah, the the main guy has to be my dad. Then
Hmm.
he
Hmm.
started the engineering
Yeah, that makes sense.
path.
But I mean, it's been amazing to see the kind of initiatives that you've taken so far. Were there any specific mentors or any specific people who guided you, for example, through your journey in preparing for the SAT, the Math Olympiad, or it was mainly from the school, Achimota?
Nah, that one wasn't okay. So the thing is that there were so many different people at different parts during different parts of the journey. Then when you look at the SAT, that one was purely from Shaking. So he is the CEO of Akins Educational Consultant. He funded the entire journey. Anything SAT, that was him. So resources to study, basically anything that you need to study, that
Okay.
was him, and funded everything and guided the entire process to make sure that I write the essays. That was him. And when you look at the Olympiad too, then it was Ghana Olympiad Academy. Then they also funded the entire Olympiad journey. That was Mr. Pay. He funded the entire journey. But aside from that too, there were different people that I kept speaking with along the way. Once in a while, I'll like once in a while, I just email to find out. Okay, so this is what I intend to do. What do you think? He said, "Oh, tell
Yeah.
Tyrone is fine." And yeah, there are so many of them too. If I
Okay.
choose to mention the name, so many of them too.
Yeah, no problem. Okay. So, I mean, it's been an exciting conversation. But before you go, what? what message do you hope your journey conveys to others, especially regarding your cultural identity and then your academic journey so far? What message do you want to leave with people?
Mm, I think the main message would be that we should be more open-minded. Not to say that society, not to say that people aren't open-minded, but I think as a society we should actually prioritize open-mindedness. And I'm saying this in the sense that considering the earlier struggle and the early arguments that I should literally cut my hair before I get into the school. Not that the school had basically no arguments. When you listen to the arguments here, they are trying to make a point. But then when you look at the very big picture, then the argument still kind of changes a little. Also, being on the team, so that's where I spent most of my time at school. I realized that the majority of people that go on the team were actually from very diverse communities, in a sense that if you choose to not be open minded and accept all these people, what will happen is that you lose a lot of potentially great students. Because on the team, there are Muslims, there was me, and there are also, even within Christians, there are the SDAs, there are the Pentecostals, a lot of them. And if you do not make you know reservations for them, and you are like, yeah, NSNQ, every Sundays we have lectures from morning to evening. There are people who have to go to church on Sundays, and if you choose to limit them, what will happen is that there will be that conflict between church or NSNQ. Both are very important to them. So if they end up choosing church, then they have to miss the team because eventually they'll lose their membership on the team. But then you'll be missing potentially great people, except for those that go to church on Saturdays. And if you don't make reservations for other people who have to also do their religious activities on a Friday or something, then you are losing all of them. But then the team was only successful because of its culture. And its culture came from the fact that we're all very, very diverse. You could have people coming from northern Ghana, like northern Ghana, and people coming from the bottom of that very diverse corners of the country, all together adding up. And you realize that even looking at the progress we made on the team, it was after 40 years that we got that far. If not for the very different and diverse societies, I have to be honest, I don't think we'd have gone that far. And so for every team to be successful, I think the culture of open-mindedness, diversity and inclusion should be much tolerated. It should be a key priority. Because when that happens, you get very talented people from different corners of the planet, and you should be successful about that.
Yeah.
That's right.
Yeah, I think that's a very powerful closing message. Open-mindedness, promote diversity and inclusion so that you can increase your talent pool and get the best from every corner of society. Tyrone Marhguy, thank you so much for being with us. We wish you all the best, and we are certainly, you know, we know that you're gonna hear some very good news very soon from the schools you've applied to. So all the best, and we'll stay tuned to celebrate you when the time comes. Take care. Bye bye.
Yeah. Thank you. Bye.